The 2020 season of Melee is finally upon us, and honestly, I don't think Melee has ever been in a more exciting place. It feels like anyone can beat anyone even at the top level of the game, and unknown players are coming out of nowhere to gut check any player who has gotten the slightest bit complacent. And although there have already been some exciting events this year, Valhalla 3 feels like the true start to the season. Leffen, Triff, Professor Pro, Over Triforce, Frenzy, and Solo Battle are just a few of the names you'll see competing in Melee singles at Valhalla. So to get you excited, I interviewed some top players who are going to be in attendance at the event to ask them about their prospects, and they gave you some players and storylines to be looking out for this weekend. And in addition to this video, I'll be doing a top 8 pregame show over on twitch.tv/SaveAsUntitled on Sunday morning at 8 AM Eastern, talking about the most exciting matches that have happened at the event so far, and what we can expect from the projected matches on the final day. Click the link down in the description to follow to make sure you don't miss a thing. But without further ado, let's jump into those interviews. The first player I got to speak to is Triff, the Peach main from Spain, who's retained his status as a top 50 player since the 2016 SSBM rank. If Leffen wasn't in attendance at the event, Triff would almost certainly be the odds-on favorite to win, especially seeing as his biggest bracket demon, the Captain Falcon main Sechi, isn't going to be in attendance. But beating Leffen isn't an impossible task, despite how good the Swedish Fox is at the matchup. Triff has taken sets before, and their most recent set at Summit 8 went all the way to Game 5. I asked Triff if there was any type of focused practice he's been doing to prep for Leffen, and Triff said in response that he tries to play against talented Foxes as often as he can, but his focus for Valhalla is more on being able to get far enough in bracket to be able to reach Leffen by beating other top EU players like Prof and Over Triforce. Triff did say that his odds are about 25% to beat Leffen if he makes it to him, because he thinks the Fox is probably a bit rusty, but Triff still says he knows that Leffen is the best in the world at the matchup, and hopes to at least take a couple of games. Triff also has been pulling out a Pocket Falcon Fox intermittently through the last year, and I asked him if we'd potentially see him pull out the Spaceys for matchups his Peach might struggle in, like against Falcon. But for the foreseeable future, Triff says the Spaceys are just for fun, especially because Triff says he really enjoys grinding out those harder matchups with the Princess. Lastly, I asked Triff to look towards the future and outline his goals for this year. And I'll give it to you in his own words. My goal is to reach top 10 in the world. It's really hard to find people to train with in Spain, even with net play, but I'll do everything I can to get better in my favorite game. So keep your eyes on Triff this weekend to continue to cement himself as one of Europe's best players, as he's done for the last few years. In a short period of time, Frenzy has worked his way from being a player that only EU Melee fans know about, to almost certainly making his top 100 debut on the 2019 MPGR. Which means it should come as no surprise that UK's second best player is all the way up at the 4th seed at Valhalla, right behind Professor Pro, who sits right above him on the aforementioned English PR as well. I asked him about his potential to overtake the longtime UK legend, like we recently saw Nikki do to Ice in Germany, and Frenzy said the key to him doing this is consistency. The Falco says it's for sure within his reach, but in his own words, Prof can show up on any day and give me a hard time, but I can only give him a run for his money when I'm playing at my absolute best. And this is a part of his goals in the short term this weekend, as he's looking to end his losing streaks against both Prof and Triff, both who were a thorn in his sides throughout 2019. Unfortunately, he'll most likely have to do this down on loser's side, as after a projected winners quarters meeting with Over Triforce, Leffen will almost certainly end his run on winner's side. But even if he doesn't get the chance to start off the year right against EU's finest, Frenzy will almost certainly get a ton of chances throughout the year to take on them at European events, and maybe even some stateside, as he's planning to attend some combination of Pound, Gommel, SmashCon, and Big House in 2020. So keep your eyes out for Frenzy all throughout 2020 to watch his first year, hopefully of many, defending and trying to surpass a spot on the global top 100 rankings. When I asked his fellow Europeans for lesser known players that people need to look out for, the name that easily came up the most was Finland's Jigglypuff main Solo Battle. Solo Battle not only dominated his own region in 2019, winning every single event that he entered, but finished off his year with an insane run to 3rd at Syndicate, beating Triff, Over Triforce, and Amsa. And with that run in mind, Solo Battle saying that his goal to get first place at this event doesn't seem all that unreasonable. He went on to explain that his wins at Syndicate gave him a huge boost in confidence that he's able to beat anyone as long as he's adequately prepared for the matchup. As for bringing this frightening Puff stateside, Solo Battle says that it could potentially be in the cards after he gets finished up with his last exams of Finnish upper secondary school, which is his current top focus at the time. Solo Battle's plan is at the very release to attend more events outside of Finland this year, but said there is a shot to see him take on a US event if there aren't enough big EU events for his liking. For me, Solo Battle is the most interesting player to be watching out for at this event because we really don't know how high his potential ceiling is right now. Was his run at Syndicate just the Puff playing hot, or is it the first chapter of the Finnish Jigglypuff's reign of terror in EU brackets? We'll just have to wait till this weekend to find out. Right behind Solo Battle at the A seed is the longtime #1 player in Ireland, the Fox main Mint. Talented Fox players can often get lost in the sea of players who main Melee's unofficial mascot, so I asked Mint what sets his Spacey apart from the rest. He says his style at its core comes down to 3 things: safety, efficiency, and speed. Safety to Mint involves not overcommitting with approaches and using pokes to create openings. Efficiency has the Irish Fox not overcomplicating his punish game by sticking to his flowcharts. And speed is taking advantage of how quick Fox is able to move by using his wealth of movement options and aerial drift to bait opponents into unfavorable situations. The path this triple threat Fox is projected to face off with in winners includes Pipsqueak and Leffen's Fox in the Ditto, both of which are looking to be exciting matches where we can really get a chance to see how Mint sets himself apart from the other McLeods. But even if he does get sent into losers earlier than expected, keep your eyes out for Mint to not leave the event without a fight down in the lower bracket. Speaking of Pipsqueak, the Fox main and 3rd best in Sweden was the next player at Valhalla 3 that I got to talk to. What he thinks sets his Fox apart is a slightly worse neutral game than the players around his level that he's able to make up for with a stronger punish game that goes for the hardest options almost every time and better defensive options. I followed that up by asking Pip about his goals not only for the event immediately ahead, but for 2020 Melee as a whole, and he responded with a very comprehensive and heartfelt answer. He spoke very candidly about how his ADD and the process of finding a proper medication has plagued him during his previous year of Melee. He says that it's not actually a mentality thing like some in the scene have pegged on it, but instead a strong physical pain that understandably takes his mind away from the game and is immensely frustrating with it being completely out of Pip's control. But even having to carry all this on his back, on top of the immense challenge that comes with playing Melee at such a high level, Pipsqueak still looks to what he can control and how he wants to perform this weekend at Valhalla. His hit list of players he wants to beat includes Mint, who he's projected to play on winner's side, and Frenzy, who he's projected to be on the same side of loser's bracket as. He's aiming for Mint as because, in his words, I've never played Mint, but he is consistently placed the same as me, or one spot further in the bracket. And Frenzy's in his crosshairs because, again, in his words, Frenzy destroyed me the past 2 sets after a long history of going game 5 with me, but clutching it out. And I want to figure out why and break what he's doing so I can keep it respectable and either go game 5 last hit, but hopefully also beat him. But brackets never seem to fall in a way that players quite want them to, so his more general goal for the event is to hold or exceed his 9th seed. And as for greater goals for the year, Pipsqueak is aiming to move to an apartment with a better internet connection so he can net play with more good players to practice, as well as get back in the content creation grind with streaming and videos. So although a lot is still up in the air for Pipsqueak's 2020, it's almost impossible to not be out there rooting for the Fox to make this year his year. The second to last player I got to speak to is the Norwegian Peach main, Weedle. He hasn't been able to be playing Melee as much as he'd want to over the last couple of months, as he's working on balancing a new full-time job with working as the head of Smash Norge, which is a non-profit org that works on hosting and coordinating all the events in Oslo. So with all this on his plate making him not playing as well as he thinks he's capable of, I asked Weedle exactly what his plans were to undo as much of the rust as possible before the bracket comes around on Saturday morning. The Peach main says it starts with mentality, as he's spending more and more time actively thinking about the game, and pairing this with practicing more and more each day, and looking back on his latest sets, which in turn gives him more to think about when he's away from the controller. And despite this catch-up grind leading up to Valhalla, Weedle's still got high hopes, as his goal is to outplace his seed and at least match his 13th place performance at the second entry in the series last year. With a projected Peach Ditto against Triff on winner's side, it looks like he'll have to be playing sharp in those life or death sets in the bottom of the bracket to reach the goal he's set for himself. So be on the lookout this weekend to see if Weedle was able to properly implement his practice regimen in the weeks leading up to one of Europe's premier events. The final player I spoke to was Okami, the English Pikachu main. The current 16th best player in the UK was also once PR'd in Japan for a brief period of time back in 2018. This came about as he lived in the region for a year writing his master thesis on the Melee community, as well as helping create a national called Amaterasu with fellow smasher Watch. So Okami has the unique perspective of someone someone who has become deeply ingrained as both a player and a TO in multiple regions across the world, which made me especially want to ask him about his thoughts on the lack of Pikachu mains. The reason he gives on why Pikachu is seen so infrequently in Melee is the difficulty of the learning curve compared to other characters like Marth and Falco that players often jump ship to after recognize the grind required to play the rat. He rightfully says that players get further with other characters with less time spent at the lower levels of the game. So with that response, it should come as no surprise that he doesn't think Pika will ever become super popular in the community, but he does say that the character has so much cool stuff to show off and even more things yet to be found, so he's hoping that more people pick up Pikachu in the year of the rat. Okamide is looking to do a bit of that himself as he's aiming to at least finish top 16 here at Valhalla 3, which hopefully will help push him into the top 10 in the UK after stagnating around 15 for 3 PRs in a row. He's seated all the way down at 38th for the event, partially to avoid regional conflicts, so it looks like he's going to have to play his ass off to reach that goal. But he's been playing Pikachu and TOing for 5 years now, so Okamide knows what it's like to work hard, so keep your eyes out for him to take some names this weekend. And that about does it for some of the players and storylines you should be looking out for at Valhalla 3. A reminder, I'll be doing additional coverage of the event at 8 AM Eastern Standard Time on Sunday over on Twitch, which is an hour before top 8 of the event. So make sure to follow me over on Twitch and Twitter, and join the Discord, links all down in the description, to make sure you don't miss any coverage of Valhalla 3. For more information about the event, click the link to Smash GG down in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, consider liking, subscribing, or sharing this video with other people so they can all learn more about the European scene. And that about does it for me. I've been SaveAsUntitled, and I will see you guys next time.